dark frozen fields of Garlemald was born the Reaper, umbral assassins and slayers of tyrants, wielding scythe and magics of another plane of existence. These grim executioners passed their skills and techniques down through the generations of bloodlines, and bring silence to all those who would threaten what they love, at any cost. Their power not being fully their own, to understand the Reaper you must understand two things: the history of the Garleans and the nature of the Void. Well over 8 centuries ago, in the early years of the 6th Astral Era, the forebears of the Garleans lived in southern Ilsabard, in what is now Corvus. To them it is called Locus Amenus. The land was bountiful, and her peoples farmed the earth, scythe in hand. But the citizens were bereft of magical capabilities, which made them susceptible to outside assault. The rich lands they inhabited, ever desired by those around them. The Garlean ancestors fought with all they had to protect their home, but lost ground ilm by ilm over the years. Until 800 years ago, when they were at last driven from Locus Amenus completely. Fleeing north, they were spurred ever onwards by the dangers around them, until reaching the northern edge of Ilsabard, the inhospitable frozen lands that would become Garlemald. Struggling to survive and bereft of materials, magic, or sustenance, survival itself was a near impossible feat. It is in these darkest hours the Reapers came to be. The farmers of Locus Amenus, scythe in hand, reached out to the whispers in the dark, the words of Voidsent, with which they made pacts, granting themselves abilities of the Void and echoing the legacies of both Alag and Mach. With their martial means and the power of the Void, but few in numbers, the Reapers used their abilities to cut at the heart of their foes, assassinating key targets rather than confronting their enemies head-on, leaving bodies and silence as the only trace of their presence. Their way became to end a battle before it ever began, and to offer everything they had, even the sanctity of their own soul, to keep the greed of others from destroying that which they loved. But what of their servants? Voidsents are denizens of another plane of existence, fittingly called the Void. In reality, it is one of the 13 reflections of Hydaelyn's source, the 13th to be exact, that due to Ascian machinations and missteps, saw a flood of darkness spread through the land, banishing ambient aether and light from the realm, leaving its people to become twisted abominations. Voidsent can come in a variety of shapes and a range of power and intellect. Their goal in all things is the consumption of aether. When it comes to our realm, that all too often means dining on flesh and blood, as living aether is a particularly dense source of sustenance, and its flavor is preferred above all else. There are 2 means by which to summon a Voidsent into our world. The first entails opening a Void Gate, a rend in the fabric of space large enough for a Voidsent to pass through, soul and body. The stronger the Voidsent, the larger the tear must be. However, this takes an inordinate amount of aether to do, and even more to sustain for any period. The second method is far more efficient, and the one used by Reapers. A small hole is pierced through reality, from which the soul and power of the Voidsent passes, allowing it to connect to or possess a vessel. This method has 2 fundamental drawbacks, in that the vessel must be strong enough to house the Voidsent, and perhaps more importantly, when it comes to Reapers, if they are not careful, they can become fully possessed by the Voidsent, who will consume their soul and steal their body, causing untold havoc. In aims to avoid such a terrible fate, Reapers do not merely summon Voidsent, but enter into pacts, using their soul crystals as a useful medium to hear the whispers of the Void, and make a connection. An ability or disposition not all of Hydaelyn possess. This infernal agreement that a Reaper makes with the denizen of the 13th will allow them to channel the Voidsent's power, manifesting in a mixture of the Void and the Reaper's own essence, which results in the Reaper's avatar. In turn, the aether of the Reaper's victim feeds the gnawing hunger of the Voidsent, fueling both its and the Reaper's strength. Moving one step beyond, the Reaper can offer their very flesh to their avatar, blurring the line between self and Voidsent. This is an incredibly potent source of power, but but exceedingly dangerous, as it can result in the full possession of the Reaper. One great benefit of the Voidsent-based pact for Garleans is that it does not require any ability to wield magics, as they merely act as a channel for the Voidsent energy, giving themselves effective means to use the arcane. Truly, a match made in hell. Over the past century, the Reapers have found their role in Garlean society as a silent preemptive strike upended by the raw might of Magitech. And even more horrifyingly have they seen their people become the very oppressors they had fought against. 50 years ago, as the Magitech of Garlemald truly came into its own, and with parts of Ilsabard already conquered, the first emperor of the Garlean Empire, Solus Zalscalvis, rallied his people to retake their ancestral home of Locus Aminus in a righteous crusade, putting all of Ilsabard under the boot of Garlemald in the process. As time moved on, the direction the Emperor stood to take the country down became clear, with Garlemald finding a sickening religion in its conquests. And 20 years ago, at least one Reaper, knowing his role to quell the power-hungry, thought to take matters into his own hands, attempting to assassinate Solus Zalscalvis. His act was a failure, and left him in want of more power, which meant granting more and more of himself and freedoms to the Voidsent he had made a pact with, until it was too late, and it consumed him. When it comes to recent years, many proud patriots raised in Garlemald have been insulated from the reality of their country, only to find injustice and cruelty as the coin of their beloved nation when they venture forth. Horrified by what Garlemald has become, many have fled, including some Reapers. At least one group forged a family of choice, if not by blood, calling themselves Lemures, a word for the spirits of the dead in the Garlean language. These Garleans make a life for themselves in the lands of Eorzean, out of common eye or hidden in plain sight, acting often as an intermediary between their countrymen who are unable to let go, and the new home they have adopted, through the sale of ceruleum and other commodities Eorzeans are banned from purchasing from Garleans, hopefully doing some amount of good to one day build bridges between these two peoples. Darkness is a tool, just as light, and the men and women who put it to use decide the fate of its morality. The Reaper's legacy is bathed in blood, just as Garlemald's is, but its use is rooted in the desire for and belief in a better future. Its power may be nightmarish, but the beautiful thing about a nightmare is how it may become a dream. This content was brought to you by the Eorzean Archives. If you enjoyed this video, help us please the 12 by leaving a like and subscribing for new content every Thursday, and comment down below with any topic you'd like to see our archons cover in the future. For even more content, discussion, and exclusives, please check out our Discord and consider supporting us on Patreon.